Welcome to ISWARM's webinar today on Managed Aquifer Recharge through Village Level Interventions. We say MARVI for short, presented by Professor Basant Maheshwari. My name is Trevor Pillar. I'm the National Partnerships Manager here at ISWARM, and it's great to see so many of you here today from all around Australia, India, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Italy, Singapore, Vietnam, Germany. We're glad you've joined us. All right, well, today's agenda, just quickly, 20 minutes from Basant we're looking forward to, and 25 minutes Q&A open to everyone chat, and we'll be recording the webinar and sending you the file after it's over. And we really ask if you could give us feedback about the webinar. It takes about a minute after you close the webinar, you get an automated screen come up. So all comments are welcome. It helps us shape future webinars. Well, let's get stuck into this today. I want to introduce Professor Basant Maheshwari. He's a professional originating in India, now at Western Sydney University, but his main work has been done on water in landscapes, particularly engaging community participation. You might say barefoot hydrologists, but he's a renowned scientist from India, now working at Western Sydney University. We so look forward to hearing from you today, Basant. And I'll remind everybody, click on the Q&A button and put in your comments or questions for our discussion. Right now, it's over to you. Thank you, Basant.
Thank you, Trevor, and good morning, good afternoon, and namaste to everyone. And it is my great pleasure to share some of the work we have done in the last 5 years. And I would like to acknowledge all the partners of the MARVI project, all the researchers, and also thank you to ISWARM for this opportunity, and Trevor and Joel for all the arrangements they have made. So this project has got 9 organizations involved and more than 30 researchers and 35 farmer researchers, and as I mentioned before, has been running for last 5 years. Now coming to groundwater, so it's a very complex resource. It's invisible resource, out of sight, out of mind. We still don't understand the good flow dynamics, hydrogeologic parameters which are important, and we have limited qualified trained human resources at different levels from village, district, state and national level. And working at grassroots level and achieving some positive change is not easy. And also we are dealing with people. So we need to, if we want to manage groundwater properly, we need to win their hearts and minds. So there are 3 main activities in this project. So participatory data collection, sharing information and building understanding, and engaging with policymakers, government agencies, groundwater users, and various other stakeholders. This project was conducted in India in 2 states, Rajasthan and Gujarat. And in Rajasthan, it was in the Dharta watershed in Udaipur district. And in Gujarat, it is in the Aravalli district in Meghrash watersheds. And both watersheds are about 200 kilometers from one another. So there are some similarities and there are some differences. And each watershed is about 5,000 hectares. And we worked in 5 villages in Rajasthan and 6 villages in Gujarat. So coming to who were involved in this project, so of course the researchers, and then there were what we call BJs or Bhujal Jankaars. So I will talk a little bit more in detail about them. And then we worked with schools and village communities in those 2 watersheds. And at the same time, we engaged with Gram Panchayat, which is the local village level council, and state and central government agencies. So what we what did we do in the MARVI project? So the approach we had was local management of groundwater, which is village-based, and the focus is to improve livelihood of people, because groundwater is connected to livelihood. And then groundwater sustainability. So these were the three which equals what MARVI is trying to do. So there are three elements or themes in the work we have done in MARVI. So one is the aquifer recharge, which is the supply side of groundwater, and groundwater use, which is the demand side, and then the people who use, so their involvement, their engagement, and their ownership of the problem and the solution. So in aquifer recharge, we focused on understanding how the groundwater level in wells vary with pumping and recharge from rainfall, and what are the issues and what can we do for better planning of recharge structures, and understanding of the performance of those structures. And groundwater use side, what crops, how much water they use, what can be done in terms of selection of the crops, irrigation methods, and then involving the people who actually use and can manage, and so engaging them and making them better informed, and ultimately leading to some sort of cooperative arrangements. So we worked with this important part of this project and engaged the local volunteers. We call them Bhujal Jankaars. So Bhujal in Hindi means groundwater, and Jankaar means informed. So groundwater informed. And we engaged 25 of those volunteers in Rajasthan watershed and 10 in Gujarat watershed. And we provided them with training. So remember, these people, some of them had primary school education, some may have gone up to high school, but not beyond. So, and they have left schools long time ago. So, but they have life skills and experiences. So we gave them basic training in hydrogeologic concepts, mapping, how to measure water table, water quality. And these people were local champions, and they were the interface between research team and community. And as a result of this, they felt very empowered and felt valued. So that was really good part what we have done. And so what did this Bhujal Jankaars or BJs did? So they, over the last 5 years, they have been monitoring wells, the water level in wells on weekly basis. They were monitoring check dams. They were monitoring water quality and rainfall. And we monitored 250 wells in Rajasthan watershed and 110 in Gujarat watershed. And as a result of all this, so if we compare when we started and now, they have transformed in terms of their understanding. And they have changed, they have now started to develop their own understanding, insights, and what to do about groundwater management in their own villages. So these slides show what we have done. So they have gone through different training in terms of preparing maps, understanding geology, and so on. So this slide shows some of the things they are doing in the field. So this one, looking at the rock type, this is where they we are demonstrating them to how to measure water levels, and this person marking the wells. This is something they came to some classrooms. So many of them left schooling long time ago, never had a dream to go to university, but here they are in a university classroom working, learning, discussing those things. This is another picture here, slide here. These are some of the Bhujal Jankaars or BJs, and this is where there were lots of meetings with these village volunteers and the women and so on about what they have been observing. And this slide shows in one of the wells, the water levels measured by BJs. And what it does is this gives them sense of how much water, how much the depth of water table or water in their wells is fluctuating over time. And so that gave them quantitative values of what is happening. Similarly, about rainfall. So before we started the project, they would think how much water, how much was the rainfall. They measure in terms of whether water has flown on the ground or so on. But now they started talking in millimeter rainfalls and like that. So the thinking has changed, means it has really changed their groundwater literacy. This is another slide which shows the number of wells in a particular village. It's about 20 wells. And shows how they are fluctuating, and this gives some sense of the fluctuation in water level and water level before monsoon and just end of the monsoon, and from there they can understand how much groundwater will be available for next crop, which is kharif crop or rabi crop, summer crop. We also monitor check dams. So these check dams are constructed on a creek, and they store water, and at the same time they recharge local groundwater. So it is important to understand how much recharge they can provide, and also understand their performance. So we have done monitoring on number of check dams in Rajasthan watershed. And so next slide shows the water balance of one of the check dams we monitored. And what it shows is how much water has gone to nearby wells. And that helps us to plan next crop or give some estimate of what farmers, how much benefit farmers are getting from a given check dam. Also, technically we can understand, but we also need to understand the attitude of farmers. So we have done some survey in Gujarat watershed and Rajasthan watershed. So 500 people in Gujarat and 300 in Rajasthan. And we asked a range of questions. So each interview with the farmer will last for 45 minutes to 1 hour, and explore range of questions. And some of these questions are, do you think that increasing the depth of your well has had an impact on your neighbors? Would you be willing to share the water and cost of recharge scheme with other farmers close to you, and so on? So there were a number of questions to understand what sort of attitude they have in terms of groundwater. And that analysis gave us 4 groundwater attitudes. So, and also along the 4 attributes. So one is thinking positive, means there is a future and things can be improved. And then the other side is hopeless situation, can't do anything, there's no future. And then this side, willing to take action and improve the situation. So people willing to do something. And this side, don't care, there's no point, let's keep going how it has been going for a while. And so what this tells us from our analysis, so within the watershed, depending upon which village you're working on, there could be in groundwater attitude 1, 2, 3, or 4. And what it tells is that if we are designing any intervention, then we need to be aware of what attitude they have and then design accordingly so that what we implement is more effective and beneficial. So it's very important to understand people, understand groundwater, understand the demand and supply sides. Now, another thing we have done is to collect this data can we use new technologies? So we have, with the help of Louis Daly, who's based in Adelaide, we developed this app called MyWell, and this app can record the water level data in the wells, rainfall data, and check dam water level and water quality data. So anyone who has got a smartphone and internet connection, they can send this data, and they are stored on a server, and people can see in real time. Similarly, in many villages, it is not possible to get internet connection. So we have same thing. Farmers can send their data through SMS to a virtual number, and those data will be available for display, and anyone can access. And at the same time, one can query, say, what is the my average water level in my well, or how much was it last year, or last month, or last week, and like that. So some of the things you can see is, you can see on the Google map or on the computer screen online, different wells. And then it can also give you the graphs like this. So say this graph is for last month, and this is for last 3 months, and this is for last whole year. So you can compare 1 year with another year. And this gives some sense of what is happening in terms of rainfall and the groundwater recharge and the water level. So all this is leading to village groundwater cooperatives. So the idea of village groundwater cooperative is emerging, with very significant roles of BJs, the Gram Panchayats, and NGOs and state agencies. And this is all about giving ownership of groundwater management to the people in the villages. And so we have 5 groups in Rajasthan and 6 in Gujarat, in principle agreed to form these cooperatives. And we are working with them at the moment to develop what will work, and the mechanism and the protocol based on what we have done in this project. So what can the MARVI offer? So MARVI can offer a village level engagement model to involve farmers and Gram Panchayat to have a meaningful dialogue about their groundwater situation and actions, and monitor water level depth around their villages. A training program and resources for BJs, and methodology and tools to assess social, economic, cultural aspects of groundwater and well-being, and Excel-based tools to estimate seasonal recharge, and the MyWell app type tools to collect data. And that's a crowdsourcing or citizen science. So what is the way forward? There are 3 E's in here. So engage the people who are using this groundwater, who are controlling this groundwater, who are making policies about groundwater, and educate those people. So educate from the basic level, from school children to the farmers, to the villages, and to people in state and central government, and empower them with all the tools. If we can all have all this, I think we can achieve a better groundwater future for communities in India, in many other countries where groundwater is used, and I think Africa will be the next place where groundwater will be scarce. Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Basant. We are much understanding where you're coming from in all of this. Volunteers, Bhujal Jankaars, groundwater informed. I really like that that terminology, and having local champions. These are grassroots volunteers. That is a really good rundown, and we've got a whole lot of questions here we're going to get stuck into right now. Once again, raise hand if you want to come on screen. That's good. We can make sure that happens by clicking your video on and your sound on. But otherwise, Q&A is fine. We've got a ton of questions here, so maybe we'll get straight into it. Are you ready for this, Basant? Here we go.
Yes, I am.
Yep, on you, right. Andrew Ross, I think ANU, that's right. Thanks for your questions, Andrew. Three questions here. Comparison in the project of the MAR benefits of costs, right, compared with other options, such as groundwater storage, surface water storage and harvesting. So the first question is, how does it stack up benefits and costs of MAR compared with surface water storage and harvesting? Maybe we'll take these questions one at a time.
So regarding this, we are still working on the economics of the surface water with the recharge through the check dams. So I haven't got the answer for this, but we are working right at the moment.
That's good. That's all right. I think what you're doing here, giving a question, the answer short, probably a good idea. We can go into more detail as we get through, but let's get the main questions. There's a ton of them coming through. Andrew also says, did MAR techniques examined in the project include natural infrastructure-based recharge methods? That is slowing down water flow, vegetation, revegetation, recognising there may be trade-offs between tree planting and recharge. So did the MAR techniques examined in the project include natural infrastructure-based recharge methods?
No, we just looked at the check dams, which are called anicuts in India. So we looked at the performance of those check dams, but we didn't look into the other recharge structures or methodology like control bunds and so on. And what are the plans to upscale or outscale the project? Okay, so right at the moment, Government of India, with the help loan from the World Bank, is working on National Groundwater Management Improvement Program project in 7 states. And the methodology we have developed is quite applicable, and we have made presentations at the central ministry level, state level, and there's a good chance that it will get in pilot mode in those 7 states. Yep, that's great. Bhupendra Joshi, I think you might know Bhupendra Basant. Yes, I do. Bhupendra Joshi, and his question is, the work of the BJ is very good, but was there any provision to cross-check their collected data or their proper functioning? Yes, we did. Volunteers. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So initially, because these people were never involved in any research type thing, so we, in the beginning, and also even now randomly, we do check. So we have somebody in those villages, our staff member, and he randomly goes to those some of the wells and then check the reading against them. This is one way. Second was we also installed groundwater sensors in some of the wells, and so we were able to check how the BJ monitored values compared with the one monitored by groundwater sensors. So we have been checking, and there were some instances where some BJs didn't do proper job or just made up the readings, but once we found that, they confessed and they never did again. Nope, that's great. Thank you for that. Badrani from Sri Lanka is also interested. What were the water quality parameters measured? How often? How do the villages manage this? Yes, so in Rajasthan watershed, we measured number of water quality parameters, because fluoride was one of the issues identified by the villagers. When we had a first meeting in those villages, they said the irrigation water, drinking water is more important to us than the irrigation water, so what can we do? So as a starting point, we measured fluoride levels in some of the wells, and then we measured one-off the water quality in terms of salinity and pH and nitrogen, phosphorus. And in case of Gujarat watershed, we measured on fortnightly basis for last 4 years the pH and EC values.
Yep, that is great. We're going to do now, Basant, is bring Raghavi on screen, Raghavi Neti on screen to ask a question. So, Joel, that would be great if we could see Raghavi. Are you there, Raghavi? All right, shall we come back to Raghavi in a minute? Yep, all right, let's just press on for a minute then. Joe Ellis has asked, did you manage to analyse the accuracy of the water level measurements? Did you manage to analyse the accuracy of the water level measurements taken by BJs?
So they measured within centimeters, and they measured what we measured. So there wasn't much difference in terms of any error in the reading.
Yep, that's good. And Joe's also asked just another one just further down. Were there any issues with the rollout of the My Well app?
It is still under. So we have put all the data so far collected in last 4 years for both watersheds, and this app is now available on Android if people want to download and have a look. And we will really appreciate if they can give feedback. So the large-scale rollout is still to be done, but it is just now, we just have uploaded all the data we have collected so far.
Yep, that sounds great. On screen now, Basant, we have Navneet Sharma.
So I want to ask that how they are calculating recharge rate with some of the techniques for the check dam.
Okay, so we have measured the storage capacity of check dam, and then we have the measurements of the change in water level in the check dam. So by monitoring, so we have done in 2 ways. One is we put water level sensor, water depth sensors in some of the check dams, and also we measured on daily basis. So when these check dams were filled up, and by measuring the change in the water level, we could estimate how much went into recharge, especially when there was no overflow from the check dam. And we also, what we found from our analysis is, compared to the recharge volume, the evaporation volume was negligible, or less than 5%.
That's great.
Okay,
no,
thank you.
Thanks very much, Navneet. You're from Hyderabad?
Yeah, I am from, actually I am doing same work in that Uttar Pradesh district in India.
Uttar Pradesh.
Uttar Pradesh
Very
district.
good. That's great. Thank you for coming on screen today to ask that question. And all right, well, thank you very much. We'll move on now to Penan.
Okay.
Penan.
Thank you.
That's a pleasure. Thank you. Yep. Yep. Bye. Penan says, what are the challenges you see for scalability of this project, introducing it to other states of India? So scalability. So Penan Nanyang. Oh, it's from Nanyang Tech University in Singapore, but scalability is what he's asking. Yeah.
So this project we have run in 5 villages in Rajasthan and 6 in Gujarat, and so to get to say 100 villages, from say 10 to 100. So we have found number of things which we need to improve. So for example, I would like to see more women BJs in future program, but very hard to get them because they need to be encouraged, and they need to be assured that they are capable of doing a similar job. But my feeling is, if we can nurture them and take them to this journey, they will do also good job or better job than sometimes men. So that's one thing. Now, to upscale to a larger scale, we just need to make sure that we provide the training, and we also really handhold, at least for next level of upscaling, because I have seen many good things, but they have not been nurtured and implemented properly, and then it failed. And so next step of upscaling should be done really with the care and handholding so that things can work, but not leave even small details should be looked after.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Panan has another question, Basant. Panan, you're from Singapore, so it's great to hear from you today. What are the provisions made to sustain this initiative after the funding for MARVI project ends? That's a real hard one.
I think that's a challenge. So what my hope is that the work we have done will be taken over by this. It's very opportune time that Government of India is launching into this National Groundwater Management Improvement Program. And if this is taken up, then I think it will be a great outcome for what we have done in this MARVI project. My other thoughts for this is, I think we need to go for crowdfunding for this sort of things. So things like, for example, in one village, there might be somebody who wants to sponsor a BJ. So if we get 2 BJs sponsored, and then we give people this sort of ownership, and they're sort of feeling that this is their groundwater. They need to measure, monitor, and manage. If we can achieve, I think government programs, we shouldn't rely too much. We should give this back to the villagers, let them manage, so we prepare them. So I think the challenge is in the next level, if we can prove some really good example that this can be done, and it will happen.
Yep, well, we're doing okay here. We've been going for a half an hour, and we've got about 8 or 9 questions still coming up here. But I loved your comment about crowdfunding. I think that's got a lot of future. But well, look, pressing on, Bhupendra Joshi is asking another question, which is a biggie. What percentage of agriculture has increased over the last 5 years in these villages that are using MARVI?
It's a very hard question, but what I can say is farmers have started changing their cropping patterns. So, for example, one farmer or group of farmers in Rajasthan watershed, so they have gone from wheat crop to something called isabgol, which is a medicinal plant. So instead of 6 irrigation, it requires only 3. And that way they can get more income out of less water.
Yep.
So that's the change. And another example I can give you is when we started this project, in the first kickoff meeting in the same watershed, we said we have this ACIR supported project, and we would like to do some research here. And some people stood up and said, we don't need this research here. We know the solution, and we can tell you this. And so a couple of people stood up and said, if we give this money and we can drill deeper some of our wells, and our problem will be solved. And he said, no, we can't do this because we have a contract and we have to do. And after about, say, 12 months, and when these BJs started monitoring, and they were going around different villages and different wells, and people were asking, what are you doing? Why are you doing? And they started understanding that groundwater is important and it is fluctuating. And so when we had next meeting, and some of those same people saying groundwater is not unlimited, we need to really change something rather than drill deeper. So that was the change.
Basant, just to have a break from asking questions for a minute, just give you a little bit of a think through this thing. You're running a workshop when? End of this month on MARVI, yes, is that right?
That's right. So 30 and 31st of May, we are running this national workshop in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And,
Gujarat, yeah.
And the idea is to share what we have done, and also similar. We are not there alone. There are a number of other groups have done. So, for example, a group in Andhra Pradesh has done with the FAO project about 10 years ago, and similarly, some group in Maharashtra has done. So we are inviting them, plus us, share what can be done in terms of participatory village level groundwater management.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I'll send out some information to everyone about that after the webinar is over, along with the recording and maybe some of those papers that you sent to me today, Basant, that people might be interested in that. Yep, that's good. I appreciate your comment just coming through here, Karen Johnson from Perth, WA. This is a great program. The quality of the data available to the villages is often better than what we have here in Perth, Australia. And I think we could all benefit, Karen is saying, we could all benefit through similar volunteer programs in our communities. I couldn't agree more, Karen. And I'm looking forward to doing a similar webinar with you, Karen, on MAR here in WA. So thanks for your comment, Karen. That's great. Another question, and there's about, well, we've got probably another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about nine questions or so, and we've got about probably 6 or 7 minutes before the end of our 45 minutes is up. But look, we'll just press away and see if we can get a few of these through. That's great that everybody's involved. Thank you very much. So Christopher Derry is asking, were there any local comments about groundwater abstraction by local industries? Were any data available to modify field data from wells for these possible abstractions? So were there any local comments about groundwater abstraction by local industries?
The watersheds, 2 watersheds we worked in, there are no industries. It's mainly used for irrigation and little bit for drinking water. But if you go to cities like Udaipur or Ahmedabad, around there are big pumps there, and they're pumping water for various industries.
Right. Ragava was going to come on screen to ask these questions, but we couldn't quite make it. But here's 2 questions from Ragava. Are there any government institutions providing backstop support to this initiative? Yeah, that's probably his first question.
Yeah, so we are hoping that this new Center of Excellence being proposed with the sister state relationship between South Australian government and Rajasthan state government, I hope they will upscale and they will support this sort of initiative. And similarly, our partners in Gujarat Development Support Center and Aid Communities and Technologies, they will also will work with other funding bodies to continue this program. So there is a good chance that it will continue, and especially this large groundwater management program being launched by the Government of India.
Yep. Ragava has a backup question. What was the outcome of the analysis from the farmer's perspective? E.g., how many are thinking positive and how many are willing to act? So from the farmer's perspective, how do they feel about it?
So I think the good evidence of all this is, say in Rajasthan, 5 groups are now working to have their own cooperatives. So how these cooperatives will work is, say in each group there are about 10 to 15 farmers, and they want to decide which wells to continue and how much water they can withdraw for their next season. And so that's the evidence of farmers' response, that they feel this is groundwater is not unlimited, and we need to use it in a way which will be sustainable by recharging more and controlling the demand or the crop water use.
Yep, that's great. Thanks. Subhash Chand from Delhi, National Institute of Agriculture and Economics, is asking a critical question on informal water market institutions being developed in the canal command areas, are posing a threat to age-old Warrabandi irrigation management systems. How can these old systems be sustained? So yes, do you get the gist of the question?
Yeah, so I think he's talking about the groundwater informal markets. So they are not sustainable. They are more for somebody making money.
Right.
And so their aim is to get as much benefit out of groundwater. So they will go deeper. They will do all sorts of things. And in my view, and from our experience, collective experience, that's not the sustainable way. But the way is we give the ownership of whether you are a small landholder or a little bit bigger landholder, work together, everyone share the water and recharge the water and use in a way that it will be longer term. We are not lowering the groundwater, but sustaining the groundwater table.
Yep. Now we've got a question from South Africa. Karen Wilholt has said, did you come across issues of larger scale water sharing, upstream, downstream linkages? Also, if the irrigation canals get sealed, less recharge happens. And so local groundwater dependent communities may suffer. Did you come across issues like that in MARVI, or could you foresee such issues in upscaling it?
So in the two watershed we worked, Karen, didn't have a canal system. So it was everything based on groundwater irrigation. But I can see this sort of problem. So when you have the surface water and groundwater, and some of the surface water through canals, if they are not lined, that water can come back to the groundwater system. And our partners in North Gujarat will be working on those areas. So this sort of issue could become important.
Yep. Yogita, welcome. You're doing a study in Australia here, and we're so pleased that you could be joining us. But Yogita has a question. What are the key messages for BJs, policymakers, and stakeholders? So those three groups from the MARVI project: BJs, policymakers, and stakeholders.
The messages for BJs are I think we haven't valued them, but through MARVI, we could tell them that you are as good researcher as anybody can be in terms of managing your local water, groundwater. And for the policymakers, the message is we need to work from bottom up. And because groundwater, you can't control where the groundwater is going, but if you give the ownership to the people and they know this is their water and they need to look after and manage, recharge, then I think we can manage the groundwater at the district level, state level, central level, but not the other way around.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. These are excellent questions, people, and we're getting to the end of them now, so we'll wrap up pretty quickly. Hazel Ho from Sydney, I believe. Have I got that right? Melbourne, yeah. Thanks for your question. Is there any groundwater contamination issues at these villages? What about remediation if it does occur?
So one big issue for these local people is the high level of fluoride in drinking water. And this is one of the things that people think that because of the fluoride, they are having joint problems, joint pains, and also they are saying more heart disease nowadays, even with younger people. So that's the one issue in relation to groundwater. And it is more important for them before the water for irrigation.
Yep. Another one from Uthpala in Fitzroy Basin in Australia. He's saying that a great presentation, very interesting study. What were some of the challenges during the study? What were some of the challenges?
Challenges. So we were working in a watershed where we had no rainfall data, no stream data. And really we need to change our approach. So how we can do things with the resources we have and the data we have, and still make a good sense of some insights we can develop. So that was a big challenge. There was not much data and so on. And also getting support or interest of the government agencies is not easy. We started with village level, and people thought, what can you do with village level? But now, with the way things gone, now even at the central ministry, state ministry, and the district level, people are thinking this is the way to go. So thanks to some of the people who have been pushing this thing, we are not alone. But I think now in country like India, the government is thinking groundwater is very important for drinking. 80% of groundwater is for drinking, and also irrigation. It's 60% of crop depend on irrigation, groundwater irrigation. And now they're thinking we need to work from village level and give the ownership to the management to the villagers, which is fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's good. Subhash Chand, once again from New Delhi, it has been observed that when the project implementing agency goes out from the project area, that's leaves, when it leaves, the project collapses, or no one's there to take care of the assets created under the project. How do you induce the continuity during the post-withdrawal from the project after people have left?
That's a big challenge. I think I shouldn't underestimate this. But at the moment, I have a hope that with this new groundwater program of the government of India, this sort of thing will continue. Also, we have good partners in place in Rajasthan and Gujarat, and they are continuing, and they will. I'm very hopeful it will continue. So at least what we started in those two areas will continue. We need to develop a bit more on what we have done, and that will give good example. But I am aware of Andhra Pradesh, for example, where this FAO project ran very well, and then now not much there. So
About 3 questions to go. I think we might leave it at that, everyone. But thanks for your involvement. We've still got nearly everyone on board who came on board 40 minutes ago. So thanks for sticking with this. Really appreciate your commitment, everyone. So 2 or 3 questions to go here. Seema Dave has asked, which other states selected for upscaling the MARVI project? What will be the strategy? Similar to Rajasthan or Gujarat, or different?
So
what states?
So the states are, of course, Rajasthan and Gujarat, and then Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh. So these are the states. And there is a very clear guideline or sort of methodology developed by the World Bank to start from village level. So there are, in each state, there is a technical support agency in that project. And then there is a support organization. So technical support agency works, gives the technical advice of different kinds. And then support organization works in the villages to implement MARVI type approach, means working with the Gram Panchayat, which is the village council, and working with the villagers, farmers to develop water security plans.
Yep.
So
we're going to... No, that's great. Thank you for that. I'm hurrying on because we're about 5 minutes over. But look, the last couple of questions here. One about from Subhash Chand in New Delhi. Is anyone able to use My Well app, and how do you download it, basically?
Yeah. So okay, thank you, Subhash. This app is available on Android, and it can be used for any place in India, or for that matter, any place in the world, because all it requires is the GPS location of the well, and then you can upload those data, and then you can see. So it is available, and I'm happy to, we are writing a manual how to use it, and it is free to use.
Right. There's one more practical one here. The sign of fluoride is multiple teeth. Did you get evidence of this in your work in the project?
Yeah, in those villages, people are having that sort of thing. So there is and we have measured the water quality, and fluoride levels are higher than the WHO recommended.
Yep. Right. Yep. No, that's good. We'll leave it there, I think. And it's been an absolutely great discussion. Appreciate all the effort and the time of yours, Basant, and everyone for staying on board. Your questions were just so informative and illuminating. Well, thanks for participating. The feedback short survey, it's only a 1-minute survey, will come on as you close the window, the Zoom window. We'll send you a recording. We'll also send you some documents that Basant would like to share, and also about the workshop we'll send out to everyone. See those 4 upcoming webinars through May and June. We'd love to have you on board. I won't read them all out, and you can keep up to date what we're doing on Twitter at iSwarm. So look, thank you everyone for being with us today. We've really enjoyed it, and hope to see you again at the next webinar. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.